stranger here, and you're about to hear a poet's voice. And what I mean by that, I'm not just being silly, but I mean the kind of words that inveigle themselves into your soul. They get in there, they move around, they change you. You don't come here to hear poets. You don't come here to hear the poems. The poems get into you. There's no escaping this. That's why we do it. Anyway, she has the capacity to express what is needful and exact. And she's going to do that right before your very eyes. So give her a beautiful round of applause as she comes up here. Gail Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure this is exactly right for you. And you have to get very close to it. Is this good? Is that good? Yeah. Okay, we want to make sure because, you know, if it's not, then we don't want to have a problem. Now let me just put this. Oh, and maybe a little bit this way, and pull the cords away from you.
Hi guys, how are you?
There we go.
Ashes to ashes. Memory is such a strange igniter. One abrupt recall, and you were suddenly in the living room of a house you thought would always be home. A place you thought you could always come back to. A place where the bones of old pets are buried in the backyard and where your mother started to die. In this other world, you run your hands along the shelves, you remember the archway around them and how the wood set perfectly in the grooves. How many times did you pick up that old food and feel the weight of that small, blackish, green dog statue brought back home from Korea in the 50s? You remember how it rested in the palm of your hand, small and heavy. There was the sake set, embellished with tiny beads of gold paint. It was brown, red, and white, with the tiniest flowers painted on it. Over and over again, those cups were lifted to your eyes and marveled at. For at the bottom of each cup, there held a photograph of a woman in traditional dress with her black hair up in a complicated bun. A child haunted by memories, where all was lost to fire and to death, and to the bluesy flame of strong spirits and even sharper regrets. This place was home to me for so many years. I used to perform with a bunch of poets called a Gang of 8, and I think there's maybe 4 of us left. So when I'm here, it feels like I'm home. There have been sightings of angels, often glimpsed in the half-dark, rescuing some soul when he has cashed in all his chips and is just blowing that one note that threatens to break into something special. There are moments when Michael the Archangel has been seen, wings back, tapping his finger, lingering over Beale Street, lingering over someone with a clarinet who's playing dragon tunes. And he's there to urge him on, to encourage him to the edge and on into ecstasy, lost in the glory of just blowing because it feels so damn good. And every Christmas, and often in the fall when it would get cold and crisp outside, Mahalia Jackson could be heard closing up the stud down on Folsom, singing and shouting hallelujah, singing and shouting. And those boys, soon to be men, heard it and felt it as last call was heard one more time. Angels have been seen in midday in the Fillmore when it was all black. No, it hadn't stopped being colored yet. Men with their straw hats and fine tan leather shoes and suits so crisp, they almost shouted at you. The creases were that sharp. There was an angel down there, Jack. Sometimes she'd be coming out the beauty parlor, hair all done up in a press and curl, ready for Saturday night. Or maybe just going to the bowling alley where she'd meet the girls hanging out for the evening. And many is the night that some poor fool spent his rent money at the Club Long Island, down on 3rd Street. These angels have often been seen in broad daylight, wearing red lipstick, red nails, and dressed to the nines. Girl knew she was looking good. Billy used to sing right over there on Fillmore at the Plantation Club, and sometimes she could make you break down. There were clubs up and down the street, house parties with chili and crackers and home brew and dip and potato chips, and a little girl who would watch the grown-ups get silly. They'd throw a nickel, a dime, or a quarter her way, and a quarter in those days was some big money. It could buy you 5 candy bars or a Coke and a bag of chips. These angel sightings got less and less, but sometimes when the music was, well, you know, it could take you higher than weed, higher than booze, higher than, well, the music could take you there. There'd be Carlos Santana, head back, eyes closed, just playing the hell out of that guitar. Or you'd look up and there'd be tears. Or Janice would shout, "Baby, baby, 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 welcome back home." Or Jimmy would play your spine as Voodoo Child cooked. Then there was the day Harvey Milk and Moscone got shot. So many of us took to the streets that night. We marched from Castro Street to City Hall. Joan Baez sang, and I could swear over my shoulder, away to the rear, a bit of wing. Just the other day I was listening to Minnie Riperton, and I felt a tear escape down my cheek. And as I reached up to wipe it away, if not 6 feet, at the foot of the dining room table, an angel seemed to just blur on the edge of my vision. As my head hit the pillow, just before I said goodnight to my children, I heard a voice, as clear as day, reminding me to pray. Her heart is a radio.
Beautiful.
Her heart is a radio. The frequency is need. There are no radio-free Europe signs on the buses anymore. No late-night commercials. No blonde teenagers with wistful faces listening with heads inclined to hear the truth. Her body is a talk show. She's explored reason with the media, been interviewed, seen pop psychologists who taught her how to open up and release. Her eyes are antennae that cry Somalia tears. She's wrapped her long arms around herself and tried to hug away the pain. Her breath is the desert wind. Dry leaves parched by the sun, small sand lizards flicked out, wish for her to continue. Her heart is a radio. Its frequency is need. She's tuned herself to pain. Moving past harmony, past joy, moving right on down to that last station, the one that comes in late at night. The one that caused her to explore new horizons. Her skin is newsprint, underlined sentences highlighting her blues and the good days. Her fingertips reach for books that will trace the beginning, explain this history she's making. Her heart is a radio. She's tuned herself to misery, feeding herself with slices of tragedy, spoonfuls of murder and who died on Thursday. Her soul is a telegraph machine, and she's been up all night, waiting for a wire that will tell her who's making policy and how it will impact small foreign countries years from now. Her eyes are cameras and the lenses are open to let in the light. The shutter speed is on rapid fire. She's photographing the violence in South Central, the rapes in Bosnia, the sacking and looting of Arab villages, the racism of America. Her heart is a radio, tuned to an all-night talk show where acid is served up as the truth, and her fingertips are minefields. They're just gonna blow us all